I had a comment the other day saying a true neurodivergent person wouldn't be as articulate as you. I'm not Rain Man. I would change my accent around people. I would change my music taste. You're masking to try and fit in. No one's actually pleased, and at the end of it, you've lost your identity.
How was dating for you?
Had no boundaries with anyone touching me. The rates of sexual abuse in women that are undiagnosed is very high compared to your average woman. When I was growing up, being told that you're just dramatic or such a wimp. And I used to sit and sob, and I'd get whacked on top of the head with a hairbrush. I cry and I feel at my wit's end every day. You can have suicidal ideation as you get older. There's many times I've not wanted to be here because I just couldn't understand what was wrong.
Welcome to Share, Danielle. It's so lovely to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's a pleasure. So, Danielle, you found out as an adult that you have autism.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me a little about how you found out that you're autistic and at what age did you find out?
Okay, so I found out at age 43 that I had autism and ADHD. My daughter was 3 and she was diagnosed with autism. And it was a healthcare professional that said, you have a 25-year-old autistic son and you now have another child that's autistic, and you are displaying symptoms, maybe you should be assessed. My daughter was a mirror of me. I feel like she just saved me because without her, I wouldn't have known. And maybe I'd have still been lost and not have any answers and just internalising a lot of shame and blame for things that have happened in my life.
And when you say you had a lot of emotional shame and blame, what was it for?
Growing up, I left school early, didn't get any qualifications at all. I found school really overwhelming. I was bullied. When you come from a family system that's not neuroaffirming, they sort of look at you like you're the odd bod. And you kind of internalise all that. There was things like paying bills. When I was in my 20s and a young mum, I'd got bailiffs at my door because I'd forget to pay this, I'd forget to pay that. I just was overwhelmed with life in general. And I was just living in this constant hypervigilant state of, I forgot this, I forgot that, I can't cope with motherhood. And just everything that overwhelmed me, like, chores, just basic tasks that everyone can cope with, I couldn't. So there's a lot of shame in that. And I got overwhelmed with certain situations. To say, as a child, I would be scared of swimming pools, the echoing noises, too many people around. It was just a sensory overwhelm, chaos situation for me, and it frightened me. And I think as a child, I was forced into those situations, like they say, exposure therapy is good for you. But for a neurodivergent person, it's not. Your nervous system doesn't think, the more I'm exposed to this, the more I'll get used to it. When you're a child and you're forced to override all those instincts for little things like that, and you learn that being dramatic is not okay. But to me, that wasn't dramatic. That was something I really felt. I was frightened. And I think understanding all those things, realising I wasn't a failure, it's just who I am. It's a neurological difference. There's not something wrong with me. I'm not lazy, I'm not dramatic, I'm not difficult, I'm autistic. That's what diagnosis has done for me, because it goes a step further sometimes. You can have suicidal ideation as you get older. There's many times I've not wanted to be here because I just couldn't understand what was wrong. Once you've got language for the way you are, you stop internalising all the blame and all the shame. And it doesn't take everything away, but it makes life more bearable, because you think, actually, that wasn't my fault. That wasn't my fault. I can't help that,
Yeah.
And when people say it's overdiagnosed, well, it's saved my life. So, and I think it has for many other people too.
It's interesting because I wanted to ask that question from you. You did say in one of your videos that autism and ADHD are underdiagnosed severely. When something has been overlooked for generations, of course it's going to look like a rise.
Of course. I mean, there was something that I saw on social media the other day that said, there was more stars in the sky now. We see more stars because there's bigger telescopes, there's telescopes. Yes. You know, it's the same sort of thing. You know, we have language to try and understand neurodivergence. So of course there's going to be more people understanding themselves. We need to support people, not constantly dismiss. I mean, I've been through my life being gaslit and dismissed of everything, how I feel, my reactions to things.
Can you give me some examples to make it a bit more clear for viewers?
Okay, so for instance, if I was reacting a certain way to a situation, I'd be told I was overreacting, I'm too sensitive, when actually autistic brains are wired for clarity. I'd always want to know why. So in society, if we're doing something, I think, why are we doing that though? What, you know, that's just, I'm wired for that. I need to understand the logic behind what's happening here. And I think when you ask questions, I've been called manipulative. I've been called difficult. Actually, no, I want to understand why. And I think that's perfectly normal for someone with neurodivergence. With regards to being dismissed, you know, like needles, for instance, anything that's invasive, medical-wise or anything like that, I was petrified, even as an adult, even now, actually. And I think it's a sensory thing, but it's also an invasion of space. It's unpredictability. And being told that you're just dramatic or such a wimp or everybody, do you know how many more people have it worse than you? And I think growing up constantly hearing that, it's dismissive. And I think now, parenting my own daughter with autism and seeing how she gets overwhelmed by just things like having her hair brushed. I mean, I used to sit and sob and I'd get whacked on top of the head with a hairbrush. You know, I mean, I know we're talking about the 80s and 90s here, but, you know.
Don't you cry.
I would never dream of doing that to my daughter. I don't know, just...
Well, that's also, as you said, that's the parenting style of those years. Yeah.
It is. So I'm not sort of trying to... I'm not trying to shame anybody here, but it's kind of like, that is something that I really struggled with. I hated it. And now, so say if I'm sharing something with somebody, or even on the internet when I share to people about something that I've been through, I had a comment the other day saying a true neurodivergent person wouldn't be as articulate as you. And I thought, wow, it's still happening. Like, I'm not Rain Man, you know? I'm a woman that's articulate, so I cannot be autistic.
I consider myself, I don't want to say an autism expert, but someone who knows autism very well. And I still wouldn't be able to tell that you are autistic if you didn't tell me.
No.
So I think women is so difficult. So I can only imagine how difficult it is for people, you know, in schools, maybe in nurseries, to pick up a girl that masks very well. Yeah. And by the way, we need to talk about masking because, again, that's, I think, a concept that is a bit vague for a lot of people. As you said, it's more like being a chameleon, isn't it? Trying to adapt yourself to the people around you and act like them.
Yes.
What was masking for you like? And what is it now as an adult like?
When a child looks up at you and they're like, is this okay? Am I okay? You know, like that. Just that look. And I think the reassurance that you get from that, okay? So that teaches a child social skills, and this is okay, that's not okay, yeah? Or what's safe and what's not safe and all those sort of things. If the way you're behaving doesn't get that approval, then you sort of start changing that. And they've caused me to hide parts of myself, but then it goes one step further. You get to a teenager and you are in groups of you're socialising, say you're trying things. I would change my accent around people. I would change my music taste. Like, I never had anything that was just solely mine, not in public, because it can almost give off, people feel threatened by you if you come across a certain way. Especially in a group of women, they're still bullied. The thing is, I always say, we become people pleasers, but no one was actually pleased ever.
No, I know what you said. Exactly.
Yeah.
If you try as hard as you want, and you still don't fit in.
No. It's a sad story, really, isn't it? Because you're masking to try and fit in. No one's actually pleased. And at the end of it, you've lost your identity, you've lost yourself. and you're lost inside yourself. You don't know who you are, and you're absolutely exhausted. And it can lead to depression, serious mental health issues.
Do you think you can give me like an answer in details? What does overstimulation look like in an adult woman?
I cry every day, and I feel at my wit's end every day just because of the overload that I have to cope with. So, for instance, if someone's talking to me and I'm doing something, I can't answer you. I literally can't answer you because my brain gets very, very overloaded, and I like to do things to my full capacity, and I can't if I'm managing all these different things at once. And in motherhood, that's challenging.
Yes.
And I'm just constantly overwhelmed, and I cry all the time. The kids must think, Mum's crying again. But I just, that's just how I get through life. And I have to try and not overload myself in the day now because I get chest pains. It comes out as physical symptoms for me. Any noise around me, once I'm overstimulated, once I'm having a meltdown, I call it a meltdown. But I can't listen to you. Any noise that's coming at me whilst I'm in that situation, I need a dark room. I need there's a song that I play on repeat, and I put my headphones on, and I have to do that for about 15 minutes. My instant reaction is to cry, and it takes me sometimes hours to come out of that. And then there's burnout. I can't function for a while then. Once I'm in burnout, it could be a week, it could be a month. I used to drink because that was something that I didn't understand, didn't have the language for what was going on. And I thought everyone else around me is coping and I'm not. Why
What
not?
did it help?
Drink, it masked it. But then it led to addictions and other things and losing a business. But I'm sober, have been for a very long time. And I think now I understand myself, I realise that I don't need alcohol. Actually, I wasn't addicted to alcohol. I was addicted to coping.
So finding out that you're autistic, how did then that help you cope with everything without the alcohol, without the addiction, without everything that you used before?
I think just understanding my mind for the first time was such a relief. This, I'm not broken, I'm not a bad person, because I honestly believed that I was just a horrible human being, and everybody around me made me feel like that too. And then it also just gives you the tools, like you say, with the overstimulation, you're able to put things in place. So busy environments, I don't put myself in it without a plan in place. Like coming to London, there's a plan in place here. I've protected my peace at all costs to get here. So everything that I do now, I do with the intention of protecting myself. Everything. Yeah, people pleasing, you override every instinct you've got, and you struggle to look after yourself. You come last. And by people pleasing, I don't just mean, I'm gonna make this person happy. I mean, everything you do in life is with the intention of others.
Accommodating other people.
Everything.
All the time.
Everything. The way you communicate with them. It could be changing your accent. It could be overriding your instincts. Just even though you probably think, I don't like how you treated me. I don't like how that made me feel. You just let it go.
So the things that you're telling me that, the overstimulation can lead to you wanting your peace and your space, which is completely understandable, or the burnout, all of those things, makes me wonder, how then can someone cope as an adult in a work environment, in a marriage, when things are constantly overstimulating, even if you're not neurodivergent?
I don't think the 9 to 5 is not built for a neurodivergent nervous system, sadly, unless there's accommodations there. Luckily for me, I've mostly been self-employed. I think that's helped me get through some of it. But even then, when you're self-employed, you've still got to sort out your taxes
and deal with people still.
And deal with people. And yeah, it's hard.
I can only imagine that dating is very difficult.
Yeah.
For neurodivergent people.
Yeah.
You must feel like you get misunderstood a lot, right? Dismissed a lot. How was dating for you?
Awful. My track record isn't great. I didn't understand myself. So, and also because you develop this, I call it being a chameleon. So you develop these, you meet different people and you adapt to them constantly, which therefore means that the neurodivergent woman is never really being herself. If I look back now and look down the list of men and relationships that I had, every single one of them was different different looks, different interests, different. It's almost like I was like, that didn't work, I'll try this. That didn't work, I'll try this. And it was just a massive identity issue. And looking for connection, you misunderstand that closeness isn't connection. And also, I want to point out as well, I want to say something, that autistic women in particular are very vulnerable when you're undiagnosed, very vulnerable with men and just sexual exploitation. I mean, the rates of sexual abuse in women that are undiagnosed is very high compared to your average woman. I've been in several situations where I've been put in danger with men and blamed for it, actually, by everybody around me. You should have known better. Actually, no. I have autism. I didn't know any better. When you're a high-masking autistic woman, you don't always spot the red flags because you're too busy looking around at other things and trying to keep in conversation, looking at making eye contact, and you're just in a different zone. So what's obvious to the average person isn't obvious to us.
Don't feel obliged to answer, but in terms of sexual relationships, touch and intimacy, do you find it hard? Don't have to answer.
No, it's okay. Yes. I think though, I'm very different unmasked to I was masked. And so masking, I just overrode it and I almost went the opposite way.
What does that mean?
Had no boundaries with anyone touching me. And that's scary now. That scares me, the thought of how much I was just available for anybody, really. Sad that no self-respect whatsoever. But I think now, if my husband touches me without me knowing or respecting, he's likely to get a backhand, because I'm just... But I think the unmasked version and masked version, two very different people. I don't even look the same.
I believe in your book, you talked about how sometimes autistic people can be mistaken as narcissistic. Let's go through that, because that's a very interesting thing. Why do you think that happens?
From my personal experience is what I can talk about. So I had family members say that I was narcissistic. And to be honest, I genuinely thought I was. I researched it and thought maybe I am, And that's another thing, another label of shame and blame that you internalise. Actually, I'm not. I am in therapy and I do have a psychologist that talks to me a lot about this, and I'm not narcissistic. But I disassociate a lot. So it almost looks like when something traumatic's happened, it looks like I don't care sometimes. I don't react the right way. I have to process. I'm a bottom-up processor, so I have to get all the facts together and sort of really think about things. And in the meantime, I'll disassociate. I have to go over situations all the time. I need all the information surrounding that. But why did you say that though? But what about this person? And I'll talk about trauma or something, a fallout even that's happened over and over till I understand everybody's point of view. So from within my family system, people would just call me manipulative. You're trying to, put yourself as the winner. You're trying to just win an argument.
Can I add something from my experience of, like socializing with neurodivergent people to say why maybe other people might see them as narcissistic.
Yeah.
And this is not, to be rude to anyone, but I think from my experience, and I know it's coming from a completely different, from completely different place than narcissists, but I think I do see there are some tendencies that can overlap and people can see them. I think one thing that I've noticed is that because an autistic brain, as you said, it wants clarity and it wants routine, and they can be rigid. I see, especially in men, there's a lot of rigidness, right? I see sometimes, like, if you want flexibility, for example, if let's say that person has the routine of having to always do something at a certain time, and then you want flexibility, you want to say, okay, but today the plan has changed, I want to do X and Y, right? And they're like, no, but I have to do my thing. I have to stick to my routine. If I don't do it, I can't then accommodate your needs. And then that can, over time, if it keeps repeating, it can be a little, for other people, it can be like, okay, but you're not happy to compromise at all.
Yeah, I think the difference is compromising and feeling safe are two very different things. So that's I wouldn't even call that rigid, you know. Yeah, okay. I wouldn't even call that rigid. I would just, that feeling of being unsafe. If something changes, I will panic. I will hyperventilate. Like you know, my husband, if he changes something last minute, even if a food order comes wrong, that will upset me because that's not what I had planned in my head, and that's not to be awkward or difficult.
No, I know it comes from a whole different place. That's what I'm saying. So it took me a long time to understand, to learn that a narcissistic person will make everything about them because they have those narcissistic tendencies. Whereas an autistic person might make things about them because they feel unsafe, because they feel overwhelmed if a change happens in their routine, if they don't get what they want, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference. But I can see why people might mix these two together if they don't have a knowledge. So as an adult who was diagnosed in your adulthood, and now you have actually managed to take that to your advantage and improve your life, what is your what final words do you have for adults that are undiagnosed? And I'm talking about women.
Yeah. Give yourself some compassion for a start. Be kind to yourself above everything else. Also, educate yourself as much as possible. You have now language to protect yourself. Find as much of it as you can. And don't take no shit from anybody ever again.
I like that. That's good advice for all women. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Thank you.